It is Monday, March 27th. Yesterday on the 26th, the Washington Wizards lost to the Toronto Raptors 114-104, but we saw a lot of promise from some of our young players on this Wizards roster. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk some Kyle Kuzma, some lottery odds, and who the Wizards are looking at in the draft or who we might end up with. All of that next on the Preach Wizards podcast. You know what time it is. It's time to preach. All right. Hey now, the Wizards season is over. Because it really is. We've thrown in the towel. The Washington Wizards have Bradley Beal and Kyle Kuzma on the bench during games, and Monte Moore. I was going to say soreness up next. Monte Morris on the bench too, all out with some like soreness and different things like that. I actually do think that this is the right move for the Washington Wizards to get better NBA lottery position, and also for the Wizards to expose some of these younger players with some starting playing time and just more minutes, honestly. Let's hop right into a quick bit of the game recap here. And I want to say Johnny Davis had a pretty good game against the Raptors. People were happy to see his scoring output. I don't know how exactly I feel about Johnny Davis yet. It was nice to see him shooting with some confidence. If you didn't watch the game, he had some nice three-pointers at some crucial times in the game, which was really nice to see. When he does go downhill and drive the lane, it seems like he's, I don't want to go ahead and call it unstoppable or anything, but it seems like he can create a shot for himself, which is really great. He's kind of seems to have some tunnel vision when he drives. I've been watching that. He gets the ball and he seems like he's aggressive enough to move, but I'm not sure he has the skill yet to, drive the lane like he is and then dish. It's always like when Johnny gets the ball right now, it's like he thinks like, ooh, they gave me the ball, so now I have to, make a highlight, He's not like letting the game come to him a little more. Denny Avdia mastered that this season, I thought. He seems to turn it on at the right times, and even in the last like couple of weeks, Denny's really seemed to fallen into that role of like, I'm gonna play my game, but not force it just because I need to make an impact. It's just a common thing between all young players. Just to pivot it to another young player, Corey Kispert has really turned it on, which has been amazing to see. I think he'll be a great asset to the Wizards moving forward. I really hoped that we could have had some playoff experience this year just to let some of these other guys dip their toes in it and maybe even try and win one game in a first round just to feel the atmosphere, because it really feels like it's going to put the Wizards back a little bit by not having that experience. Like, even if we experience some success next year, we'll see what happens. I thought some playoff experience this year would really go a long way. One thing I do want to mention is that last year, the Sacramento Kings finished 12th, I believe, in the West. And this year they're second in the West. I don't think the Wizards are going to pull something like that off. However, you can finish not so strong and really start to turn it around if you have the right pieces. And I think the Washington Wizards do have a lot of pieces in their roster right now that are manageable. So let's just look at some Johnny Davis stat lines quick so I can wrap up on that. And then we're going to pivot to possibly Kyle Kuzma. All right, let's see here. So here's some NBA lottery stuff. But yeah, just want to go to Johnny Davis. Let's see. They got him as Jonathan Davis up here. 15 points, 2 assists, and 4 rebounds, and he got to play 30 minutes in yesterday's game. I would love to see him with that 30-minute mark moving forward. Keep Johnny in the game. Jordan Goodwin put in some good minutes. You wouldn't know it by looking, but it's 9 points, 2 assists, 4 rebounds. Just those initial stat lines might be like, okay, contributor. But Jordan Goodwin does all the intangibles. He's working hard. I think he had a block in this game that was just so mean, but he really gets the energy going. So again, the more minutes that these guys can get, Kendrick Nunn came in and just really started to blow the game for us. He's been disappointing because when he first kind of got back here with us, Kendrick Nunn he was playing great. It almost seemed like the trade for him from Rui was like a good thing. He was kind of creating his own shot, scoring when we needed it, making some threes, and I don't know what happened to him, but now, he'll be lucky to be playing in the NBA here soon. He's kind of got that. It kind of looks like that. So I'm nervous for him. He's got to try and figure it out. So you can see on our roster here, Xavier Cooks. So we just picked him up. He was an Australian player, and I think he won like a title for whatever Australian league he was playing with. And then the Wizards signed him, and he looks pretty promising. How tall is Xavier Cooks? 6'8". So that's great, and he plays the small forward position. So that's pretty cool. It'd be great to get him some playing time. Johnny Davis some playing time. Quentin Jackson is another guy the Wizards have in the G League, and I really think they should give him some minutes because he's kind of starting to show that he can belong. And I think making that happen. Let Brad sit it out the rest of the year. Same with Kuzma, and Porzingis is going to stay and keep playing because this is a contract year for him. So if you're wondering, why is Porzingis not sitting? It's likely to show that he can last a whole season and not be injured, I would imagine. So I'm sure he's trying to get in as many games as he can. So when he's negotiating his contract, if people say, we're too worried about you getting hurt, he can say something like, hey, man, he played 65 games this season or something like that. So that's why Porzingis will continue to play, I think, which is great. I think he is a leader for some of our young talent. So it's awesome that Porzingis will be out there with some of these young guys. Okay, so I had some lottery information, but I want to pivot. If you don't know how the NBA lottery works, I didn't either know a lot about it. So I'm going to read a little bit about the lottery here in just a bit, just to get us up to speed on how it works, and then just talk briefly about an interesting draft prospect for the Wizards. That would be really great. But first, let's talk Kyle Kuzma. So at the end of this year, I think Kyle Kuzma has a player option, so he can opt out of his contract and renegotiate to get signed to a bigger deal. Kyle Kuzma could walk. He doesn't have to stay on the Washington Wizards. So I think that this actually is a big miss by the Wizards from the trade deadline. I think that the Washington Wizards had an opportunity to get something for Kuzma, and I think they want to invest in him. But I am actually someone who is not a big fan of Kyle Kuzma's game. He was exciting to watch here, and he's had some really great moments. But the Wizards are a team that can create close games. They've been doing this for a couple of years. I actually talked about this in my last podcast episode, where the Wizards win sometimes in a way that isn't sustainable, like a lot of close calls. They never blow out teams. And so Kyle Kuzma, I think, got a lot of credit for becoming clutch Kuz. They called him a lot of these last second shots. But yeah, he seems to play hero ball a lot, and he wants to get hot. He's not someone who lets the game come to him, I don't think. He is aggressive and can score, but because of his size and he's a pretty good shooter. But I am not a big fan of Kyle Kuzma's play style. I don't think he's a great fit for Washington. His body language after he had an interview recently where he kind of was calling out some of the problems with the Wizards. I couldn't tell if his body language had changed because he was playing hurt, and we learned he kind of was, or if it was because he was kind of fed up, though. Because he did kind of seem to pass the ball to Brad like, yeah, go for it. I don't care anymore. I could be overreading that, but we'll see. I would not be sad if Kyle Kuzma was gone after this year, but there has been talks about him signing a deal of $30 million. And I just think that just it's a lot for our team. But he's talked about wanting to be near LA. So I've said this before. If Kyle Kuzma, I know the Suns had some interest in him at some point. I don't know if they do any longer now that they have Kevin Durant. But by adding Kevin Durant, the Suns absolutely become title contenders. He's just that good, especially with Devin Booker. So I think if there's even a shot that Kyle Kuzma can go to Phoenix, he will. I think it would be stupid not to, just because he has a legitimate chance to make playoff run and a title. The ceiling in Washington is much lower, and unless he really wants to try and step up and be that guy for us, I honestly don't think he can do it. I think Washington does allow a lot of guys to get minutes that they might not get elsewhere, because of our lack of depth at times. So it allowed Kuzma to kind of emerge as a talent, but I do not think that he's capable of leading us to championship contenders or anything like that. So I don't think he's worth the $30 million here. I think he could be worth it elsewhere, just not in Washington. So that's why, again, I think the Wizards huge miss by not trading Kuzma, but I think that Washington really wants him. And they will pay him to get him. I would be pretty surprised if he stayed. I really would, because I think more than one team would be interested in him. And now I want to pivot to the lottery and talk about why we might not need him. Xavier Cook is one of those reasons. Obviously, he's not going to be the type of scorer Kuzma is. But one reason I did want Kyle Kuzma on this team was because of his size. I love that the Wizards were like a big, tall team, because it did seem to help us. Corey Kispert's tall. He's like 6'6" or something like that. So Kispert's tall. Denny's tall. Denny's like 6'5". Brad, I think, is 6'3" or 6'4". So we had like a super tall team. And then between the Daniel Gafford and Kristaps Porzingis, that we were like super big, which is just good to have. You can't teach height, is what they say. Actually, I can pivot to this, and then we'll talk lottery. So the Wizards, there was a projected lottery. I actually can't remember the source. I'll see if I have it, and then I can pull up my Google here. I don't have it. Hang on. Let me type it in. I'm not wasting anybody's time here. I'm going to find out who the Wizards draft projection or prospects 2023. I want to see where I saw this. Okay, a mock draft by NBC Sports. Okay, I just wanted to make sure it was a legitimate source. So it was NBC Sports. We're going to go back here. So let's talk lottery, actually. I don't want to reveal the player yet if you don't know who it is. A lot of people do. So the lottery is just a lottery for the top 4 picks in the NBA. Most people think that it's like for all the picks, but it's just for the top 4 picks. So if you're the worst team, worst record in the NBA, you're actually guaranteed to pick 5th, in the sense of you can't pick lower than 5th. But the worst 14 teams in the NBA, they all are in a lottery to potentially pick 1 through 4. After you get through picks 1 through 4, picks 6 through 14 or 15 are all done based on record and position, where you were in the standings. Okay, so let me read this here. Which teams will participate in the 2023 draft lottery? The teams eligible for the draft lottery are the 14 teams that will miss out on the NBA playoffs. That's important to note. The top, I always forget what this play in. I'm pretty sure it's the top 10. Yeah, the top 10 teams are. Let me say it like this: the top 6 teams in the NBA guaranteed playoff spots. Teams 7, 8, 9, and 10 are in the play-in tournament, which means 2 of those teams will also sit out of the playoffs overall. So when you take those numbers on both the East and the West side, that's how you get these 14 teams that will miss out on the NBA playoffs. The final odds for each team won't be officially confirmed until the regular season and play-in tournaments conclude. But they are figured out what the odds are, and I'm going to show you guys the lottery odds as we sit right now on March 27th. Let's see what format. Let's see. I just wanted to read some stats in case you didn't know about this. The NBA draft lottery. Let's just read this. The NBA draft lottery will ensure that the team with the worst record will receive no worse than the 5th pick, like I was telling you. Under the pre-2019 system, the team with the worst record would pick no lower than 4th. Pretty interesting, but now it's 5th. The new system will level the odds at the top of the NBA draft lottery so that the teams with the 3 worst regular season records will each have a 14% chance of winning the lottery. Okay? So in the pre-2019 structure, the top seed had a 25% chance of winning the lottery, and the second seed had a 19.9%, and the third seed had a 15.6%. So pretty significant. Now they're all matched up, that was the pre-2019 structure. I don't want to bore you with any other lottery details, but I actually don't. I was under the impression that it's just like the team's logo in there, and that's what comes out as a ping pong ball, but it's actually a series of 14 numbers, and each team is assigned like a series of those numbers, and whatever number series is assigned, there's 1,000 different combinations, I think they were saying, and so each of these combinations, okay, look what it says here. I'll just read it to you. There are 1,001 possible combinations when 4 balls are drawn out of 14. So there's 14 balls, but they only draw 4 out. Before the lottery, 1,000 of those combinations will be assigned to the 14 participating lottery teams. The lottery machine is manufactured, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so it's pretty interesting how they do that. I'm not going to spend too much time diving into it because I don't really care how it works, but I actually didn't know that it was just for the top four positions. I didn't know that. So I wanted to read up on that just in case you didn't know that. Okay, but here's a look right now. The website's funny, tankathon.com. So this website's got where we sit right now. So we are in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th. We're tied for the 7th position here, which gives us 6.7% for the first pick, 7% for the second pick, 7.4% for the third pick, and 7.8% for the fourth pick. So otherwise, I think we're projected to go 8th or 9th in the draft. But in this mock draft with the lottery, the Wizards ended up with Anthony Black, who is he plays for Arkansas. He's a Razorback. So Anthony Black is a 6'7". I don't know what position he plays. I don't watch a ton of college ball, but he's a scorer. He's a guard of sorts, I think. And what I think is really interesting about that is I think he could be someone that replaces Kyle Kuzma in the sort of the size department, and helping keep the Wizards tall and being an active player. He seems like a pretty good defender. From some highlights that I've watched. So I don't watch a ton of college basketball, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know a lot about those things, but I did just do a little reading for any listeners so they know. I've heard Anthony Black's name floated around the Wizards a couple of times just through different podcasts, different sources that I read. And based on what I've seen, he would be a welcomed and wonderful addition to this team. He seems like someone who may finally be able to immediately make an impact for the Wizards. So if they could make something like that happen, I think he'd be a great choice. Yeah, I really do think he'd be like just something we need. So again, the Wizards now just need to lose out. We beat the Spurs not long ago. Actually, I've got the app right here. Let me see when we beat the Spurs. I think last week on Friday we beat the Spurs. It actually helped put us above where Portland is right now. And Portland's in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're in the 6th position there. It'd actually be great if we could get behind them. And I was reading about San Antonio as well. And are they in a play-in position? I didn't think so. Yeah, I'm not sure what I read. Someone commented something about San Antonio making a play-in, which I didn't think. Yeah, how would that even be possible? I don't know. I may have been looking at the wrong thing. But yeah, so San Antonio is like totally out. But basically we need Portland to win some games. We need Portland to win some games, and same with who is it? Pacers, the Pacers, Indiana Pacers, to win some games. So it'd be good if the Wizards do decide actually to tank out the rest of the season. Be awesome. It'd put us in a better lottery or draft position. If we could get Anthony Black added, I think it'd be all good. So again, to recap, don't dream of the playoffs. Oh, sorry, wrong chords. Don't dream of the playoffs. It's over. I barely even know that song. I'm not even sure, you guys. I just got totally off track. Oh, E flat. Yeah, I was wondering. It's a chord. There we go. I wanted to resolve those chords from my ears. Sorry for the stalling there. So that's going to wrap things up for the Preach Wizards podcast today. Yeah, I hadn't posted a video. I would definitely love to post more consistently, but I'll be honest, some of these Wizards losses were killing me. So I just didn't have the enthusiasm to get on here and talk Wizards. While I'm thinking about it, I do plan to still post in the off season and just do some more research about the Wizards and these draft prospects. I'd actually like to learn a little bit more about some prospects each year in some of the college basketball. I'm not really into that, mainly because I went to a Division III school, so I just didn't have the enthusiasm to root for a college that I didn't go to. So we'll see, but it is helpful to learn the future and the impact of some of these able teams. But thanks for being here. Preach.